welcome to Talking Down the Highway, Beach Boys podcast presented by Strange Currencies Music. This is Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Tim.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hello there, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
In a better
Hola!
mood. That's such a stupid episode.
Yeah, that was dumb. Hey, we were just talking actually earlier. We need to make like a Talking Down the Highway bingo drinking game card for people.
Yeah.
So Seinfeld references could totally be one of
A Seinfeld reference. A Simpsons reference has to be
Any real world baseball talk.
Celebrity.
Baseball talk. Yeah.
Yeah. Celebrity encounters. Hot Carls. Charles Manson.
We're going to work on this.
Yeah.
We'll put this thing together. It'll be out on the Instagram. Sorry.
Oh,
Matt's
that'll
voice
be on-
cracking
that'll be on
apparently.
the, that'll be on the card.
Hey.
Mike Love
Hi,
wearing
everybody.
Mike Love wearing a hat. That's too much alcohol.
We're out of special sauce. I can't do the voice.
Bruce
Put
Johnson.
this mayonnaise in the sun. Sorry.
The
We
size
can't-
of Bruce Johnston's head.
Yeah, these things have to happen organically, though.
Yeah,
We can't
yeah.
just, anyway. All right. What have you guys been up to in the last week?
I went on a trip to
You were in Argentina, right?
Sounds like you're.
Argentina.
Are you making this up?
You were Patagonia?
I went
right?
to Isla Nublar to see the dinosaurs.
Nice.
And it went a little sideways.
Was there like a Jurassic Park situation?
I'm not familiar with that. I went to a place called Dinosaur Zoo.
Ooh.
And there were dinosaurs, and there were electric fences, and the electric fences failed.
What are you guys even talking
This sounds
about?
like a book that I read called Billy and the Clonosaurus.
Yeah, I think they based it on that.
in the world.
Yeah, there was a guy with glasses and a leather jacket. Talked funny.
Hey, you know what? It was Brian's birthday just the other day.
Oh yeah, it was.
Like, by the time you're listening to all of this, it's not almost having just been Brian's birthday. But when we're recording this, it was just Brian's birthday the other day.
How old did he turn? Like 82, 83?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
As one would do if you are close to somebody, if you've spent your entire life, having a personal and working relationship with them, you acknowledge their birthday, right?
Did you make him a birthday cake? Oh, I thought that's what you were going to say.
I
Did you wish
posted
him-
something, and we posted on Talking
Yeah,
Beach Boys
yeah.
as well, too, which, by the way, like and follow. These things are helpful to us. But anyway, Mike Love chimed in with some
right.
What do you wish?
heartwarming words for his cousin. And he says here, "Happy birthday, dear cousin Brian. I hope this day brings you joy and happiness just as you have brought to so many. The music we created so many years ago, along with Carl, Dennis, Al, and David, continues to bring so much joy and happiness to millions all over the world at a time when they need it the most. I think the world wishes you a happy birthday, and I hope you know that you will always be loved, especially by Jacqueline and I."
So, yeah, he seems to have left out
Oh yeah.
a certain big-headed
No
bass
Bruce
player.
in there.
Yeah, wait a minute.
It's not part of it.
Bruce
Snubbed.
snubbed.
The funny thing is, he's also snubbing every Beach Boys album that didn't feature David Marks, which is strange.
I suppose, yeah, maybe. I hadn't thought about that aspect of it. I mean, look, I'm not surprised that he didn't mention Blondie and Ricky,
Right.
Or fucking Daryl Dragon. Which, by the way, we didn't really mark this last time, but now that Dennis is dead, do we no longer have to talk about Daryl fucking Dragon anymore?
I don't know.
Is he finally outside of the camp?
We should do a Captain
dear.
and Tennille podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, totally snubbed is Bruce.
Good.
Which leads me to wonder, is there something going on? Is there trouble in,
Oh.
quote unquote, the Beach Boys, air quotes, land?
Interstitian.
Yeah, is there some interstitian squabbling going on between Mike and Bruce,
The
maybe?
thing is, I don't want to give Mike any bonus points. Like him snubbing Bruce is cool, but I don't want to be on Mike's side on any
That's a good point.
topic.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not the biggest Bruce fan, but I'm Team Bruce on this if there is.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what Bruce did. I'm Team Bruce.
Yeah. I mean, in a fight, you can hide behind his head.
Yeah.
You know, he's a good ally to have on your side in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So I have another.
Oh yeah, you got more
Another thing here.
fun stuff.
Well, I just wanted to mention this actually. I'm have to like switch out of snarky, sarcastic mode for just a minute. I had a really nice development this week in the strange currencies world.
Really?
I got an email from a. You guys know I'm a big garage rock fan. I spent a whole lot of time a couple summers ago doing a big project called Garage Rock Summer. I'm in the progress of like turning that into something bigger. In fact, out of the blue, a couple days ago, I got an email from a guy named Todd Cohen, who is the bass player in a band called The Rising Storm. The Rising Storm were a Massachusetts band. They were high schoolers. 1967. They were juniors going into their senior year of high school. They had played in a band for a couple of years, and they wanted to record an album. So they pulled their money together. They went and recorded this album. 500 copies of it. They couldn't even like sell it to their friends and family, basically. So, they have this little memento, right? Years down the road, this thing just turns into this beloved classic, collector's item. They literally sell for like $5,000 on Discogs now. It's just become this like really treasured, item for garage rock fans. So Todd sends me an email and says, I just wanted to reach out. Your review of our album was great. He said it's the most nuanced, like level-headed thing that's ever been written. People like jump way too much at like praising it. It's like my bandmates and I we're still baffled by the fact that that people have responded to this in the way that it has. But he said, he's like, I've worked in journalism for my whole career, and he's like, this is the best thing I've seen written about our band. And he said, I just really wanted to. So it was really, really cool. But we've like now gone back and forth several times. So there's a documentary about them that was made by somebody in their circle, I think. It's this really, little charming documentary, 30 minutes. You can find that on YouTube. They still play. Like, they all went their separate ways. They all went to college. They all had careers and everything. They're in their 70s now. And Todd was telling me, the last show we did was 2 years ago. It was for our 55th high school reunion. So he sends me a link to the performance, and they still kick ass. And it was great. So anyway, he and I have had a few talks back and forth, and he is actually going to get me into touch with the rest of the band, and I'm going to talk to them about a chapter for my upcoming project on the New England garage rock scene.
Okay.
So anyway,
I thought you said we're going to tour with them or something like that.
Yeah, we're touring with them.
Going to record a whole album here in the studio with them.
Anyway, so that was really cool.
That's neat.
We joke a lot about 10 billion listeners and all that, and we're in that range somewhere.
Between 1 and 10
But
billion.
no, I mean we our listenership has gone up. We've got more and more people who are reading Strange Currencies. We got more followers on the Instagram and all that. We're the listens of this are really, really taken off in a way that I don't know that we necessarily expected. Even by our non-inflated numbers, we still have a couple hundred people listening to every episode of this show, which is, I don't know. It's weird for me, like sitting here recording this, like, oh shit, there's people like other than, my kids that are going to listen to this. But anyway, like, I just wanted to acknowledge, like, it's really, really cool to, when we get feedback, on the stuff that we do, that we put out there.
I agree.
And I very, very much appreciated that, Todd, and to the rest of the Rising Storm. You guys are awesome, and really inspirational story. And as I said in my email, like, these guys get what a labor of love is. Yeah. And it's always nice when you have some recognition for doing something that other people appreciate.
That's they really went to
cool.
Phillips
Andover.
Yeah. Nice. Like, okay.
Yeah. Andover, Massachusetts.
Wow, what do you know?
Yeah, even like I've talked before about people on Instagram, like there's that guy Rob, just every once in a while, like, hey, nice job, guys, or like, I look forward to your episodes on Fridays. Like, that's great.
Yeah,
I love that.
Absolutely. No, all that stuff means a lot. So yeah, sure, the likes and the follows and all that stuff, it helps us for the algorithm. But honestly, positive comments like that, all that stuff, we love it. We love it. We do this for fun, not for money, but it's nice to know that other people are enjoying the things.
But if you want to send us money, that's fine
we'll
too.
take money too. Yeah.
Check, money order, doubloons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Edible arrangements.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's take a break and we'll be right back to talk about what we're talking about this week.
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
This week, we're talking about Brian Wilson.
Oh, the man?
Yeah, we're always talking about Brian Wilson. I look at this agenda that you send me here, Glenn, and it's like, we're talking about Brian Wilson this week? Well, of course we're talking about Brian Wilson. What are you on?
Just like how we always talk about the Beach Boys.
Wait, are you talking to Glenn or Tim? Dude.
You. You're sitting over there on the couch, not even paying. What are you doing over there?
I'm reading about the Rising Storm.
Yeah, they're great.
I know. I'm like
We're trying to talk about the Brian
diving
Wilson,
in.
the man.
There's a really good review that was written about their album.
Oh, okay. I'll have to try that. Check that out. I just saw a note in there that at one point the Rising Storm got back together and Andy Paley sat in to play bass.
So I was curious about that. Yeah, I saw his name because Todd's name isn't even on the Rate Your Music page. It's Andy Paley bass, which is totally not true. Todd Cohen is definitely the bass player for the band. So then I was like, all right, this Andy Paley guy's name keeps coming up because he's involved in the thing that we're talking about this week too. So yeah, that is a weird.
He sat in 82.
In 82 for
Cohen on bass.
Yeah, they went and they played in Europe and everything. Like the record got big in Germany and Holland. And stuff, so
Andy Paley is gonna make an appearance here. We're gonna probably talk
famous paleontologist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
And he's really active in Peru.
Mm.
In the Andes.
The Andes.
Oh dear.
Wait,
y'all.
I was thinking of the soccer player.
Man.
He's also a very famous soccer player.
Pele.
Oh.
Too soon.
Dude.
What's the Andes thing? Oh, Andes.
The Andes.
Andy. I see.
You know,
I was still
Peru.
thinking about the last name.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Tim, come on.
We're talking about Brian Wilson, the man.
Yes,
Yeah.
Brian Wilson's solo
We're just talking
album.
about Brian this week.
Yeah, just the guy.
Good.
Like he's pretty
Finally.
tall. You know, he's a good singer.
I think he's a real live wire.
Ooh, oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, he's such a natural guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Well, good episode.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. I hope people learn some new things about Brian Wilson.
Yep. He's tall.
Wow.
What, Glenn? You're acting like we had another part of the agenda or something.
No, I'm excited.
You
to
said
talk
we're talking about Brian
this.
Wilson this week.
No, that was Tim.
It is? No. I don't say things.
Oh dear.
You set the agenda. You said this week we're talking about Brian Wilson. What were you talking about?
Oh,
we're just talking about Brian?
We're talking about the album, the self-titled album, Brian Wilson.
Oh, is that like a tribute album that someone else made?
All right, so here's the story.
These guys need to. All right.
Here's the story.
These guys need to start putting more effort into the titles of shit. Look, Mike Love's an idiot. Certified. He eats dog food. Prove us wrong, Mike. But look, he at least names his album something other than Mike Love. It's a stupid pun, but he at least gives it a fucking name.
Right, looking
like
back with
Carl.
love.
Carl Wilson. The Beach Boys, 1985 album. We'll just call it the Beach Boys. Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson. Look, come on, guys. Effort.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to come up with a pun for the Wilson last name, and I can't.
Yeah.
Son. Oh, he does like that lucky old son, right? Or is
Yeah,
that the
that's a
Beach Boys?
pretty good album.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I like. It's so cheesy, but it's good. I like it.
But he spells it S-U-N, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's. I don't know if that's an attempt at a pun. Anyway.
So it's 88. It's 1988. This is 3 years after the last album that the Beach Boys put out.
After that John Stamos level
Yeah.
shit show.
Eugene Landy's still in the picture.
Very much so,
He was around for a long time.
Wow. Okay, so
Hey, wait a minute. Sounds like it's time for an episode of Heroes and Villains.
Sure.
All right, Heroes and Villains. We're discussing heroes and the villains, whatever.
This is actually a good one.
Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson's the hero.
Yes, but here, so obviously Landy, villain, and obviously Mike Love, villain.
Of course.
But I was thinking about it on the drive-in. There's so much context we can't get into all of it. But like, if you were to read, a book, which I didn't do, or like I did do, read the whole Wikipedia article about this. It seemed like a tug of war between Landy and these other guys, Andy Paley, Lenny Waronker, or however you pronounce it, and Russ Titleman, who was like good versus evil, because you got Brian in the middle. Brian is the writer of these songs, but Landy keeps trying to fuck him up. Changing the lyrics, making these demands, and then he'll like leave a bodyguard there so no one can change it. But the other guys like outnumbered him and outwitted him at every turn, I think.
Right.
Because like at one point they distracted the bodyguard with like ping pong or something, and then they swapped out a vocal take for the good one that was better with the better lyrics and things like that. So I don't know. I think the whole album is great, and
Ping pong, the
it's
universal
Brian,
equalizer.
right?
None of us can resist its charms.
It's because of Brian that it's good, but also these guys. I think it could have gone just absolutely to shit.
Andy Paley, Russ Titleman,
And Lenny Waronker or whatever. However you pronounce it.
All right. Well, I mean, they're secondary, but the real hero is Brian.
It is.
Yeah, it's Brian.
This is an album of personal perseverance.
Yeah.
For Brian, the fact that it exists, period, is pretty remarkable. Brian's fucking hero. He's our eternal hero.
Right.
Of course he is. And Landy's a villain, but of course Mike Love's also a villain. Why?
Yeah.
For this particular album, why?
Well, I know I don't know if you're going to say why.
No, go ahead. I didn't have anything specific, but there's always something. Go ahead.
After it comes out, there's some, quote. I don't know. Brian says, I gave it to all the guys. They loved it. But then there was a quote from Mike saying, "It sounds like crap compared to how Brian could sound." So he always has some shitty thing to say. And that's even a backhanded compliment, I guess. Mm-hmm. But just like, whatever, Mike, fuck you.
Yeah.
Your album was shit.
Yeah. Total shit. And you eat dog food.
Yep.
And we're pretty sure you didn't graduate high school.
Nope.
Yeah.
And you probably killed somebody.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Probably assassinated Abraham Lincoln or something like that.
Yeah. Assassinations, good vibrations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
See?
He's telling us.
So
Good thing this show is satire.
Wow.
Parody or whatever.
Good.
Yeah. Good episode. All right. Okay. So other context that we need for this thing.
Okay.
Brian's under the supervision of the psychotic Eugene Landy.
Yep.
He is not yet married.
Yeah. When does he meet Melinda?
I feel like that happens in the 80s.
It does. I mean, because I'm thinking of the movie Love and Mercy.
Yeah,
Landy is a big part of that in the 80s sequences when he meets Melinda. But I don't know how that lines up with real life or how they overlapped.
And I think there's Melinda comes in right around here towards the end of here because I know there is some pullback. We've referenced the Andy Paley here. There's like the Andy Paley sessions in the early 90s that were kind of had some of that same kind of push and pull of what's going to get released and what's going to get put out. And eventually a lot of the stuff that he does with Andy Paley later gets shelved and never released. And in favor of some other albums that we will end up discussing as we go. But so apparently there's a chance meeting backstage at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame dinner.
Okay.
Wait,
Rock and Roll.
I don't know if it was that one. It was for someone else's induction is why Brian spoke, I believe.
I don't know. So what year was that?
That was
the infamous
88, wasn't it?
We might need to do a little research here because
I got it.
So apparently backstage.
By the way, hold on, people. If you haven't picked up on what we're talking about, we have a whole episode devoted to Mike Love and Brian's first their speeches at their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. It's a classic. It is a classic in podcasting.
It's part of what spurred us on to do this entire series.
If that was 88, what we're talking about here is 87. It was Sire Records president Seymour Stein invited him to act as a presenter for Lieber and Stoller's induction. That's what it was.
Okay. Oof.
Well, so some foreshadowing at least.
Foreshadowing. So they're at backstage. He meets. So this is a Sire release.
Sire. All right.
So I think if we're talking about context here, I think this is an interesting artifact in this kind of Brian Wilson story arc, if you will. And I'm curious what y'all think about this. I have this theory. If Pet Sounds is Brian Brian's kind of first, like, leave me alone. Let me get these sounds out of my head. Let me do this. Mm-hmm. And the Mike Love's get out of his way. And if Pet Sounds is kind of the first take on that. And then it feels like maybe Love You is the next chance that Brian kind of gets to do his own kind of things.
I mean, he considers Friends one of those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Friends is a bit more democratic.
Yeah, it feels more democratic.
But just
it feels
according to Brian himself, he thinks Pet Sounds, Friends, and Love You
unreliable
are his solo albums.
We love Brian,
but this isn't. I mean, unreliable is like with facts. Like this is. He has said this, about how he feels about the albums.
Okay, but I think in this arc theory that I'm presenting for you, if you were to look at Pet Sounds and then jump to Love You and say, okay, this is another anecdotal moment of Brian's kind of journey of him on his own making his music. And then I think you jump forward to this solo album.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think these are kind of 3 marks in time. And maybe down the road, maybe Adult Child is part of this kind of series, and maybe eventually Smile.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually Smile is, I'd like to think that maybe the Paley sessions could be part of that. But the idea is that here's this arc of Brian struggling with this ability to articulate musically what's happening. And I think there's a lot of turmoil that, seeps in through Love You that I think is still bubbling under the surface here.
This album, I think, feels very much like a cousin or a sequel to Love You.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so, and Eugene Landy's hand on this kind of gives a little bit of an ominous tone to it, or gives a little bit of like, man, there's a lot of like fighting going on, or there's a lot of like I don't know, maybe obstacles in the way that Brian's trying to overcome or trying to push through or sing through. So I mean, there's a lot of that context going on.
Yeah. I was going to say that I was going to go back to the thing. So he meets the Sire Records guy at the Hall of Fame dinner or whatever, and gives him a 2-album solo record deal, and then hooks him up with Andy Paley, who is like, who's like a producer, multi-instrumentalist. But Paley, I don't know exactly if Landy got any of the gears rolling, but it sounds like this meeting and Paley's influence really got things rolling, because I know at some point they went to Brian's like home or something, and they had, I think, 130 songs written, like that Brian had already written. And according to Brian, and unreliable, but I think it's safe to say, because that's that number is substantiated by Paley. They had 130 songs.
Jeez, who is he? Robert Pollard?
Yeah. And then Brian says they weeded it down to 20, recorded 18, and then picked 11 for the album. So I think like that sort of process of kind of like whittling it down really ended up with good results, because like there's probably a bunch of those songs probably suck ass.
Right.
Yeah, and actually there's a funny little thing where Paley calls some of them hamburger songs. The ones that weren't recorded were just written.
Yeah, right.
Because
right.
I guess Dennis at some point used to try and bribe Brian with McDonald's hamburgers to write songs.
And I think some of that also, though, was the Paley sessions a little bit later.
Maybe,
which is stuff that didn't actually come out. And
Is one of those smart girls?
I don't know. Well, see, but you're talking about like them writing songs together. There was a big cache of songs before Paley even showed up, but then they did. Like Paley is, according to Paley, is like co-writer of all these songs. He didn't get credit for all of them, but he and Brian really were the ones that were writing the songs. And this is another one where Landy gets a lot of credit, but then it gets taken away. If you go to the Wikipedia track listing, it actually has all the original credits with some of them with strike through, like literally crossed out. So you see Landy and his girlfriend's names just X'd out certain songs. But yeah, and like I said before, during Heroes and Villains, it was definitely like a power struggle kind of thing that, I think the side of good won.
Yeah.
Hamburger songs. I like that.
Hamburger songs, right. Yeah, I remember reading about hamburger songs when I was kind of looking into the Paley sessions. And I'd put together kind of trying to cobble my own little Paley sessions.
Now, I wonder, are those songs some of the ones that ended up as bonus tracks on the...
The ones that I'm talking about, Paley sessions, a lot of them came out like on the Long Promised Road. So like Getting In Over My Head, It's Not Easy Being Me, I'm Broke, Must Be a Miracle, Slightly American Music. That stuff is a little bit later. And I think this first album, you know, what Paley did with Brian on Rio Grande, I think kind of was like, hey, there's some potential here. Let's do more of this. And so I think that's what those Paley sessions were a couple of years forward.
Well, let's take a break and let's come back and actually talk about some of these songs specifically.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be right back. Talk about the A side.
All right, it's time to talk the A side of Brian Wilson's solo album. And you know, you put the needle down and Love and Mercy.
Well, hey, hold on. Before you even do that, you got to pull it out of the sleeve. And
Oh.
wait a minute. Sounds like it's time for an episode of Sound of Vision.
What's that?
Sound of Vision, Tim,
Yeah.
is where we talk about all things aesthetic using the scale provided to us by David Bowie. Glenn, if we really like something, we call it a...
Low.
That's right, David Bowie's masterpiece. Tim, if we don't like something, we call it a...
Like he provided it to us personally? Like this is the scale that he handed us before he died?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Oh, Never Let Me Know.
Never Let Me Down. That's right, David Bowie's... Oh, jeez. Definitely last.
What an asshole.
David. And, you know, if we're kind of like whatever about it, if it's in the middle, let's dance. David Bowie's okayest album. All right. Brian Wilson. Come up with a name, Brian. You didn't even come up with that name. Your parents came up with that name.
This cover, that's a good point. It's pretty 80s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was always like some combination of cursive and block
splash.
letters.
The
back
ink font is...
then.
Ugh, hate that.
Yeah, the paint splotches.
Yeah, that cursive letter is...
And
That middle panel is like Photoshop 1.0 nightmare.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel kind of just neutral about it, though.
Yeah,
This
same.
is the definition of a Let's Dance.
Yeah. Let's Dance.
Yeah. Just like, whatever.
I mean, Brian's on it, so fine. But yeah, it's a Let's Dance.
Yeah.
That's all we need. There's nothing of value there. All right, well, let's get into the music. Okay episode. That was a pretty shitty episode.
Yeah. Fuck that episode.
All right.
So, just in general, I think the synth on, like I said before in the last episode about like using it tastefully, I think it's very tastefully done throughout this whole record generally.
So again, here is where I will say this is the difference between the Beach Boys of 1985 and that kind of 80s sound that comes in with this solo album. Here's the separator of it. I think this is a much better done, more well done version of that. You can still hear that this is the 80s.
Yeah.
There's still that synthesizer. There's still some of that drums here. But like Love and Mercy, it's clear that this is a labor of love.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of time that put into it. This is not a hamburger song.
Right.
This is
It's a good song.
It's a good song, and it's like, there's some of those 80s touches to it
But it's like
that
the
make
Paul
it
Simon
dated.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was at Crossroads and I picked up this Brian Wilson promo album. It's like an interview promo interview.
Like a
album.
companion piece to the album. Yeah.
Yeah, companion piece.
So it's interviews and stuff,
It was
yeah.
intended to go out. It's to go out to record labels, or record store, or record stations.
Radio
No,
stations.
radio stations.
Yeah.
So they could play, and
okay.
it's a great. It's a fun listen because they'll play like a minute of the song, so you're like, oh yeah, that's what they're talking about. And then there's an interview. David Leaf, the autobiographer, interviews him, and
Not
so
an autobiographer.
or biographer, interviews him, and so there's like 30 minutes worth of Brian talking on this. So, but on the first track, Love and Mercy, Brian talks about how he spent hours laying down all of the backgrounds, and all the background vocals is Brian. It's just him over and over and over again, and it just sounds like a choir. And he's like, I just kept going with it until I finally just got it right. And that's what this feels like. It feels like this is Brian just like pouring over this, getting it right. Yeah. And that's the difference, I think, between this album and a failed.
It doesn't feel like it
80s
was put together in an
cheesy.
afternoon. Yeah.
Right.
I agree, yeah. And this song is great. I like this song.
Yeah, it's solid. I don't think it's a classic, but it's really good. Yeah,
Yeah, I like
it's good. It's good. All right.
Track 2, Walking the Line.
Oh yeah.
Not Walk the Line.
Nope.
Walking, talking.
Because you're mine, I'm walking the line.
So this is much louder. This is a rocker. I have written that it has a part that sounds like Airplane, but I don't remember what that part is. Airplane from Love You. But a lot of these songs have little elements that remind me of Love You throughout the whole thing. Just either the sounds or the melodies. There's just, like I said, they feel like closely related works. Terrence Trent D'Arby is one of the background singers. Yeah. So yeah, like Brian did
Hey,
probably
will you meet
most.
me at the wishing well of Butterfly Dreams?
Yeah. Brian did most of the background vocals, sure, but apparently Terrence Trent D'Arby and Christopher Cross came in
on this one.
separate days and were like, hey,
Chris Cross.
I can't hear their voices individually, but yeah.
The only note I have for Walking the Line is gimme, 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 lovin' tonight.
Nice.
Because that's like the hook.
That's deep.
Yeah.
I like the bass line. Apparently, he had written this bass line a long time ago, but never could really kind of find anything to go with it. And so he, that bass line's kind of got a '60s influence in it, and then he kind of married it with this '80s pop kind of feel.
I wish I had spent more time with this album because I remember the songs better than the Beach Boys self-titled, but I still I don't remember what the bass line is, so I'm gonna have to listen to it more. But I can see myself just overall listening to this album regularly, not just
totally.
For homework or whatever.
Yeah. No, this one I will put on, and I dig that. He on his little interview, he calls it. He talks about taking that '60s influence and adding the '80s pop vibe to it. He calls part of this song part of it is soft sell. Like it was, so there's kind of some of those new wave synth pop elements in there. But then he's clear later in the interview to say I don't do new wave. I don't know how. I get that I don't do that. That's not what I do. But
I'm a rocker.
Right. So track 3,
Melt Away.
Melt Away.
Excellent.
Great song.
I like this one a lot. I have another Love You note on here. It says, melody sounds a little like Let's Put Our Hearts Together at the beginning. I have really good. Love the epic bridge, which I don't remember, but it's epic.
Very nice arrangement. Yeah. This feels like Brian.
Yeah.
Like Brian's, to borrow a stupid phrase from an advertising campaign, but it kind of feels like Brian's back to an extent here,
Yeah.
Like he's engaged.
I mean,
he's doing things here that it's not, here's somebody paying homage to Brian.
Right.
Like, here's a cheap imitation.
No.
Here's a Beach Boys on where we have this other producer that we pulled in. Like, no, this is Brian. Like, he's at the helm here.
I would say Brian's back, but more than just his back. It's like his whole body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's putting most of himself into
Brian's
it.
brain.
So here's another take on this. I guess I can't help but juxtapose this from the last album that the Beach Boys put out, Beach Boys '85, whereas that one just feels cheesy and hamburger songs that
Yeah,
just
just
weren't
throwaway.
fully that were like throwaways, but like they had to market them
Yeah.
and they had to get them out, and and it's like even seeing the 2 music videos for the 2 first tracks of that are like, oh, there's some kind of story here, there's like a narrative, but it just feels like clumsily done. Whereas here you've got this song Melt Away, and you get a sense that Brian actually has something to say, and he's
Yeah.
like, he's talking about this idea of, trying to capture that emotion where you're in this like, how do we get over this idea of loss or this, sadness or this crisis? And, there's actual depth in the content here. So
Is this the one with the I felt just like an island till I saw you smiling, or is that something else? Is that a different one? It doesn't matter.
I don't know. I don't remember.
What's the next one? Baby, let your hair grow long.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems catchy.
It's weird, like the whole. But Brian is weird. We've
yeah.
established that, and like, again, this guy's just got a fucking way with melody. The catchy as all hell, and yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. The next one's called Little Children. It's not great. It's kind of cheesy. But he calls out Wendy and Carney by name.
Yeah, and they're both like adults at this point. Like Wilson Phillips, that album
Right.
comes out like
Yeah.
right, maybe even in the same year as this.
Something like that, yeah.
So that's kind of.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hokey, but, fun.
Wait,
I
so
wrote pass.
yeah, so Little Children
Maybe a low light of the album.
and One for the Boys is the next one.
One for the Boys is like a tribute to the Beach Boys,
Yeah.
essentially. It's an a cappella. There's no words. It's just like harmony, syllables, and stuff like that. I like it, but yeah, it's. I almost wish there were lyrics because it's just kind of a pleasant little piece of vocal work. But I don't know, it just doesn't really stick because of that, I think. There's nothing really to hold on to. I don't know if the harmonies are compelling enough to really just be a really good song on their own without words. But
Yeah, I mean it's no Our Prayer, but
Yeah.
it's a nice touch. It's an homage, and yeah, it's fine.
it's fine.
It's just a transitional piece.
The next one is called There's So Many. I thought this also sounded like Love You in, vibes.
Yeah, literally what I wrote was "Love You" side 2 vibe,
Yeah.
kind of like solar system-y.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the very end, the planets spin around or whatever.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah, even before the whole planets thing, I was like, oh, it's totally got a solar systems kind of vibe.
Right. Yeah. And then there's that big kind of vocal ending with that line repeated a couple times. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Full circle.
Yeah.
He's still fascinated by the planets.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe one of the hamburger songs that got discarded was about Johnny Carson.
Hey,
I bet he has a whole album's worth of songs about Johnny
I
Carson.
hope. Yeah.
one could only wish.
All right. Any other thoughts on the A side?
Solid.
Solid,
Very
yeah.
solid.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it.
Yeah, there's really just one that's kind of like meh, but I wouldn't skip it necessarily.
Yeah, it's
I mean, it's a
only
minute 48,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's take a break and come back and talk about the flip side.
Yeah. We're back talking down the highway, talking side 2 of Brian Wilson, the man, and the solo album. We already talked about his side 2 when we were talking about Brian's back.
Weird.
Anyway, track 1, side 2 is
dear.
called Nighttime. I think my initial reaction to this one was like, meh, it's pretty 80s. I don't know. This is the one that Christopher Cross guests on. But then it kept getting stuck in my head. And I like it. I like it a lot more. Nighttime is daylight time, it's starlight time, and it's the right time for me.
This one's kind of a dud for me.
Yeah, this one is kind of a dud. Although, like, I listened to the
earworm.
I listened to the interview, and Brian kind of explains.
He loves, this is like his
Yeah, like
whole life philosophy, the nighttime.
well, he has this whole theory about how like he's always been a night person, and how like he talks about how a younger generation kind of gets on the older generation, says, why can't you guys just chill out and loosen up? You're just always like, you're always just trying too hard and working too hard. And Brian kind of uses this idea that, well, hey, yeah, we all have responsibilities. That's daytime. That's the work time. Nighttime is the social time. You can have responsibilities, but also... So, I don't know,
I picked up on that in the Wikipedias that he was really into this concept and this song. But yeah, I think weirdly, it seems like the lowest effort song.
Yeah.
It's just really repetitive and simple.
Yeah.
But it does get stuck in my head, and I kind of like, kind of groove into it. Yeah. But not great, but I like it. Next one's called Let It Shine. This is the one that Jeff Lynne basically wrote from Yellow, Electric Light Orchestra. And what I was reading in the wiki was that Paley, there were a lot of quotes from Paley. In the message, somebody did a long sit down with him, I guess. But he, I forget if he was saying it or if Brian was saying it, but I got the sense that Jeff Lynne really kind of took over this whole one, and it was like really Brian barely contributed to it at all. I do wonder, we talked about this off mic, if Brian's contribution might have been not Be My Baby. I already forgot. Baby, I Love You. There's like a kind of a Baby, I Love You melody in there. And maybe that's his contribution. I don't know, but it's basically a Jeff Lynne song. But I like it though. I think it's pretty solid. It doesn't feel as personal because it's not really a Brian song, but I like it.
It's fine. It's a Jeff Lynne song.
Yeah, it's a Jeff Lynne song.
We all know that Jeff Lynne is all of our favorite member of the Traveling Wilburys, of course. But
yeah. So Meet Me in My Dreams Tonight. My note says really good, almost a gospel choir feel. Yeah.
Snappy. Really upbeat and.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember it specifically, but
Me in my dreams.
Oh yeah. It's good. Yeah, I like it.
This is another one that on the interview with Brian, he very democratically says this is a commercially oriented song, meaning like he heard it and he's like, oh, that'll sell. This is a hit. Like Andy Paley came up with the melody and he's like, oh yeah, that's it. That's going on the record. So there's part of this is like
gold, Jerry.
It's gold, yeah. But again, we're trying to make something that is marketable and can sell. But this is the difference between just trying to throw something out that's a fad that people want to buy because it fits the formula, and them actually like taking some time to have something that give it some substance.
Yeah. This doesn't I mean, based on what you just said, it doesn't sound like this is a song that he wrote to be commercial. It's a song that he recognized was commercial commercially appealing after the fact, which it's totally different. So the last one is Rio Grande, which is great.
Wonderful.
So the part that I read, and I forgot exactly the role that Paley played, but I know Lenny Waronker was the guy that really prodded Brian to do something like this. This is another kind of epic multi, movement sort of song.
Very, very smile.
Very Smile-esque.
Even down to the Americana themes of it.
And I like how weird it is at the very beginning, too. It's like very sort of psychedelic and strange off the bat before it goes into the kind of like train Wild West stuff.
Well, it's like a rock opera. It's like this movement, like what, 6 movements?
3 or 4, I think. I don't know. I mean, it is 8 minutes long, so maybe.
But
but I mean,
there's like cowboy music in here.
Yeah.
It's like the
thunderstorms.
But I guess
he busts out the fire backing vocals.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Lenny had to. I guess they sat down a few times and tried to do something like this, and then it kept. They kept being like conventional songs. He was like, no, I got the sense he was almost doing a Landy, not in an evil way, but just like. do it like this, do it like before, and then eventually, they landed on something that was that. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the end result is very good.
In the interview, Brian talked about how like it was intended to be like a rock opera from the beginning. They were like, "Hey, let's get like 5 to 6 pieces. Let's put them together." And they'd written actually even more and ended up. He references in the interview. There's a piece called "Heavenly Lover." That they started it. That kind of got them going, creatively. It got them going. They ended up not using it in the suite, but. Brian in his little interview, he calls it like 6 little ditties that they put together as a suite. So, it's great. It's fantastic.
It is great.
Oh, and it prompted even something like a bit sort of like praise from Landy. There's a quote where he says something to the effect of like, Rio Grande it's like 20% of the album, so you got to hand it to, I forget if he calls out Titleman or Warnker, but he's like, you got to hand it to that guy for that. But it's like a weird quote too, because he doesn't really say it's good or bad, but he just says like it's such a significant.
It takes up a lot of
it takes
run
a lot of
time.
space, but it almost sounds like a compliment. Yeah.
Well, and again, Rio Grande is I think maybe my fascination going down the whole Andy Paley line and looking at those sessions that come out later. That gets me
there's
excited
more of
about
that kind of sound. And stuff.
Right?
I'd be all
I'm
about
gonna
it.
look
Right?
them up now. Yeah.
Well,
Is
I
it-
have a playlist, Matt.
Well, did
that
you
I'll
say-
share with you?
What compilation did you say a lot of them ended up on?
The Long Promised Road.
Okay.
I mean, I just got on Apple Music just to see what was available streaming that never got released, and so there's some from a Brian Wilson anthology. You're Still a Mystery was on.
Wait, The Long Promised Road. Are you talking about what would be the soundtrack
movie
for the,
soundtrack.
the
Yeah.
documentary? Okay.
Yeah, when that came out, it was it had a bunch of tracks from those sessions, and so you can kind of get a sense for what they were working on. There's a couple of tracks from that Made in California release. You're Still a Mystery, Soul Searching.
So you have to kind of cobble it all together.
It's
Okay.
cobbled together. So there's and there's been different bootlegged versions, kind of like Smile, people piecing together different elements. And again, like you're saying, there's tons of stuff out there. Some of them are hamburger songs that were like pieced together, and there's a couple of like there's a Nilsson track.
Nice.
This Could Be the Night that they do at one point, and so that could have ended up on whatever album that.
Does he Nelson? Did he co-write it or did he sing on it or?
This Could Be
Or is it a
the Night
song of
is
his?
is a song of his.
Oh, okay, they covered
right,
it.
and so. Yeah, but there's a bunch of stuff, and like if you put it together and you listen to it, you're like, oh my gosh. There's one that I couldn't find streaming that came from the Paley sessions. That's the Chain Reaction of Love is really good. You have to listen to it on YouTube.
Is that a Mike Love guest vocal?
Yeah, right.
It's about all the different things that'll trigger a lawsuit from Mike Love.
Chain reaction. That's right.
All right, well, hey, let's rate this thing. Because I have something else I kind of want to try before we're done with
Yeah.
this. So let's rate the album.
I like it. I like it
really
a lot.
but like, I don't know.
Gosh, let me pull up the.
So I'm going to say, I'm going to kind of lead, I guess, into this. Because I reviewed this. It was part of the solo album project thing that I did last year. And on our 10-point scale, I gave it a 7.8. Which I still feel is pretty fair. I would characterize that as a heavy Al.
Nope. It needs to
Although
be
I
higher.
could be convinced to go soft Dennis, which of course is what we might call a cold Carl.
It's a Carl. It's a Carl. It's a 4.
Jesus.
It's a 4 at least.
At least. Because like I'm sitting here like obviously it's not as good as Pet Sounds or
Oh God.
I mean I Love You, you know how I feel about Love You, so I don't know, I guess maybe it's about the same level as that.
What did you give Love You?
I don't remember.
I think it's right in there, Carl Dennis.
I don't think it's anywhere near Love You, but look, there's 3 songs on here that I think are fantastic: Love and Mercy, Melt Away, and Rio Grande. Everything else is I mean, there's only one or two that I'd say are duds, but the other tracks just don't quite reach. Like those three really kind of stand head and shoulders above the rest of it for me. Whereas Love You, I feel like that's just front to back, really pretty fucking solid album.
I don't think, for me, there aren't really any duds on this, but it might not be as good. I Love You. I have such a
I don't know.
complicated relationship with that one.
Again, I think that's a good comp, though. These are kind of cousin albums. They don't sound anything alike, but I think they speak to that.
Well,
Sound a
we've
little bit
already
alike.
known that a cousin, one cousin can be great and another cousin can be trash.
touche.
Yeah, so.
But again, I don't think that does not follow in this instance. I think I would love to sit down and create a box set of Pet Sounds, Love You, Brian Wilson, and just listen to those three in a row, and then maybe Smile, and just let that.
I know. Yeah, I know where your head's at with that, but I don't think. I mean, anytime anything gets you're not comparing. Them
I'm
to
not.
Pet
I'm
Sounds,
just saying.
but, like,
I think these are all artifacts in that arc.
But I think right.
And again,
sonically and thematically, I don't know. I feel like the last two they do kind of sound alike, but neither of them sounds anything like Pet Sounds. So I think it would be a little bit weird, disjointed.
Well,
but
and again,
I know what you're saying.
That's because I think Love You and Brian Wilson have so much so many obstacles and so much baggage attached to it.
Just rate the damn thing.
It's a Carl. It's a 4. It's a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a Carl. I'm tempted to go as high as Dennis, but
same.
So yeah,
I'm with you on that.
Strong Carl.
Hot Carl.
I don't. Yeah. There's only one meaning of that, and it's a good high level Carl.
High level Carl.
I'd say, again, at best, cold Carl, but that's all right. Hey, I want to take a quick break and then come back and talk about something else that I feel just maybe kind of needs to be talked about here. We've got a few extra minutes, so all right. We're going to take a break. I'm going to share something with these gentlemen, and then we're going to talk about it.
All right.
Yeah. We'll be right back. And we are back on Talking Down the Highway. And
wow.
Glenn and Tim, I think maybe for the first time.
I've heard parts of it.
I feel like I've heard
for the first time. Maybe we're not sure.
I
Just
think
heard
I blacked
"Smart
it out.
Girls" by Brian Wilson.
Wow. Are we not gonna? Can we not play that for our listeners?
They can find it on their own.
Oh dear, that is something.
Yeah, it's great. It's catchy chorus.
Wow. It's like a train wreck. You can't look away. It's just like, it's painful.
What year was that? Do you remember?
1990 is when it was released. Now,
were the Fat Boys? Is that the one the Fat Boys were on?
No, that's coming up on our next album.
Really?
That's Still Cruising.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, okay.
But I will let you all know, co-written and co-produced by Eugene Landy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of artists tried rap. They tried a little rap in their time in the 80s. I mentioned Dee Ramone off mic. I think he put out a whole rap album, possibly.
Well,
at least one song, I know.
It was family movie night the other night.
Bart Simpson.
Yeah,
that's right.
Anyway,
it was family movie night the other night, and we watched the Rock of Ages. Have you seen this? It's like a Rock of Ages TV. Tom Cruise plays this hair metal god, and Paul Giamatti plays the smarmy record label guy who convinces this rock kid to try pop rap. and Paul Giamatti also plays Eugene Landy.
Yeah.
So it was kind of triggering a little bit because that's what it felt like. Man.
That's funny.
Same alternative story.
Anyway, we can all agree that Smart Girls is great.
I mean, anytime when especially a white guy opens up a rap song by saying, "My name is Brian and I'm the man," it's gonna only get better from there.
You know what it reminds me of? There's a documentary on Netflix about Wham. And, there are these two guys, George Michael and Andrew, whatever. They meet as young children and they eventually, let's be musicians, let's do music. And they're in the UK. I don't remember what year this is exactly, but they're like, let's do this socially conscious, really cutting edge stuff called rap. And their first single is Wham Rap, Have you heard it? Mm-mm. It's terrible. But the way the documentary treats it, and because there's interviews with the two of them, it's like they just legitimize it. Like, yeah, this is a really cutting edge thing, and it literally starts off with, "Hey, everybody, take a look at me! I'm rapping the blah 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 blah." And that's pretty much what this sounds like to me. Wham, though, obviously got way better. George Michael is a good songwriter, but yeah, like white guys saying, acting like they're, I don't know.
Not good.
DJ, whatever. No good.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the rest of that album. I haven't really heard much of it, but I do think we should cover it. Sweet Insanity.
So maybe that is. Does that
Is that
Smart Girls come out on that then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Is that what that is?
Because that's just a bootleg.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole thing's a bootleg. It's one of those that never came out. But yeah, Sweet Insanity is the whole solo album that Landy co-produced, and it's going to come out. And at least, I don't know if this is one of those things where it's like, just a fan-made track order. But if you look it up, there's like a cassette sort of jacket for it that does include Smart Girls. I think it's the last song.
There you
I
go,
think
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
similar with the Paley sessions.
Could be, yeah.
Those are kind of like both of those things are like floating around.
Right,
and
yeah.
Never got released.
All right. Well, we'll have to consider. We're approaching the end game here, but yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's take one final break and we'll come back to wrap it all up.
Sure.
To wrap things up here, episode 39. Can you believe it?
Wow.
39.
We're getting up there.
Yeah.
Good times.
10 billion listeners, can't be wrong.
39. That's like at least a dozen episodes.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go listen to some Wham rap.
I got it queued up right now.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, we'll catch you next time. I'm sure it's gonna be good, whatever it is.
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Beach Boys, apparently they become relevant again at the late 80s. So I'm guessing there's a real banger that helps to bring them back into the public spotlight. So I'm looking forward to it.
We didn't mention that banger may have contributed to the poor album sales of Brian Wilson. But anyway,
well, we'll just have to wait and
they came
talk
out the
about
same
that
month.
perhaps. Ooh, okay, well.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, we'll catch you next time then.
Wham bam. I'm a man.
That's right. Okay, bye everyone.
Later.